The white women's suffrage movement, in order to gain support for their movement, they had to look to other communities who were doing suffrage organizing within their own communities.
Among the diverse women's rights activists was Fannie Flegelman Bryn, a Jewish immigrant, University of Minnesota graduate and peace activist, and an African-American suffragist who would help bridge the cultural divides in Minnesota's movement.
Nellie Francis. She always knew who she was. And that kind of grace, I think, really brought people to her to lead. And because of her physical features being non-traditionally African, she was able to move back and forth between two different races, between black and white race. And she graduated from St. Paul Central, one of the first African Americans to graduate from there. She delivered a speech called The Race Problem, where she was saying things about race relations and racism that even the black leaders of St. Paul were not really saying.
It cannot be denied that the Negroes be accorded the same rights and privileges as other people and given the same opportunities. May the people of this country, North and South, East and West, early awake to the sense of their duty in this manner and thoroughly realize that the race problem must be settled right. And then can all black and white, American and foreign-born, shout with one glad shout that shall sound and resound from pole to pole and from sunrise to sunset. This is the land of the free.
She was very powerful as a speaker. The reporters and the editors who saw the speech, those commentaries all reflect the same message, that she moved hearts. I think that characterizes Nellie Francis on the broad stage of politics and race relations.
Nellie Griswold married emerging lawyer and leader William T. Francis. Over the years, her civil rights work was wide-ranging, with women's suffrage being one of the many movements she was engaged in.
She is very active in Pilgrim Baptist Church in St. Paul, and really a focal point, a hub of black community organizing at this time in the late 18 and early 1900s.
Nellie Francis wanted to have a suffrage club, a politically organized club that focused on the issues of African American women.
Every Woman's Suffrage Club. The name says it all. She was very much interested in bridging the races, bringing the races together.
Clara Euland connects with the Every Woman Suffrage Club, and she connects with Miss Francis. And what Clara Euland demonstrated is that you need to listen to the communities that are already doing this work, who haven't been a part of your movement thus far because they've been excluded from it. The Every Woman Suffrage Club morphed into the Every Woman Progressive Council, and Nellie Francis became very active in the anti-lynching movement.
Nellie Francis became the chief lobbyist for the first anti-lynching law in the country, here in Minnesota, in the aftermath of that horrible lynching in Duluth in 1920.
Before and in the aftermath of women's suffrage, women like Nellie Francis, who worked within their communities and broader communities to fight for change, even when at the polls, there was still rampant racial discrimination. It still took another 45 years for there to be efforts to ease racial bias at the polls. And it isn't until 1965 that the Voting Rights Act is passed. 45 years after women's suffrage is implemented across the US, and 45 years is like a voting lifetime for some people.